Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Got Chris on from Unfiltered Longhorn Talk. Unfortunately, we don't have Vashon today. He is pretty busy with some work obligations, but Chris is going to hold it down today. We want to get into some more football talk, football reasons, as we call it here on Fanatic Perspective, as we prepare for the Cotton Bowl. Right, Chris? I'd probably say our maybe our toughest challenge yet, even including the Georgia games, potentially with the Ohio State Buckeyes coming into at&t Stadium Friday, January 10th, the Cotton Bowl, college football semifinal, an opportunity to go to the national championship game. This is the game, folks, where we were in last year versus Washington with an opportunity to go play in the national championship, and we came up just short, right? So being that team from the playoff last year to get back to this point, to do it again, we want to talk about how are we going to beat Ohio State, right? What are the keys? Where everybody's been talking about Ohio State 6.5-point favorites as of this recording, as if they are now a juggernaut. I do believe they've got some front running in them. I think there's some front runner syndrome in there, but we want to break it all down. We want to talk with football facts, analytics, everything here, not just with our emotions. Chris, what's up, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. Just getting ready for next Friday. I'm going to be there. It's going to be a blast. I hadn't been to a Texas game this year. The last one I was there was Texas OU last year. So hopefully I can bring us some good luck. We will see.
Well, I'll be there as well. So if you see either one of us, please give us a shout out, hook them the whole bit. We're ready to
Yes.
turn up on Ohio State. So, with real quick, just any parting thoughts on Arizona State? I know I've covered a bit. We just had our video drop with Richie from Locked On Sun Devils. If you guys haven't seen that, please go check out that conversation. It dropped on Sunday, but I haven't talked to you extensively about that. So just anything, guide me from Arizona State to Ohio State, if that
Okay.
makes sense, Chris.
Okay. Basically. Perfect. Man, basically, I'm not going to lie. After or going into the Arizona State game, I was probably one of those ones that thought we were going to cover for sure. I'm not very good at giving gambling advice, but I would have taken the 13 and a half, 14 points easy. If you look at Arizona State, they had a bunch of guys that didn't make it here at Texas. Prince Dorba came into campus at UT, 4 years ago, and he weighed 215, 220 pounds. He's gone to Arizona State. He's maybe put 10, 12 pounds on. That's it. I was like, oh, we're going to dominate in the run just like Clemson. That didn't quite happen. And there's a lot of reasons why it didn't happen, but man, I really thought we were going to dominate that game. I think one thing Vashon has said, one thing I've said, our chances, the the way it's going to happen for us is our offensive line and Quinn. I think our defense is solid. I mean, I think the reason why our defense gave up so many yards against Arizona State is a couple of reasons. A, when you get that late in the season, all these teams are good. They're here for a reason. That's going to happen. But I think two, and probably the most important reason why we're having so many problems, on defense is they were on the field for so long. You had guys on the field 90, 95, 96 plays. You know, um, and that's not really our defense's fault. I think that's our offense's fault in a way, and also the way the flow of the game. In the first half, we stopped them. We had a punt return, which put our defense after we scored. We put our defense back on the field. We got the ball back. We scored on 2 plays. Yeah, you can get up 14-0 or get up 2 scores early, man. That's a great thing. That's awesome. But same time though, when coming back again, you can't go as long, doing what you needed to do. And one thing we
Yeah, you
didn't
can't
do
go
was,
3 and out in the third quarter and not
yeah,
score, not really do anything until the fourth
yeah,
quarter where you put together another drive. And
yeah,
there's conversations happening on the sideline about, hey, guys are exhausted. You guys are going 3 and out with quickness, right? So
exactly,
I do
exactly.
think that going into Ohio State, that hopefully that's the humble moment, the come to Jesus moment that is going to be required, especially considering the opponent coming in. I know it's happened a couple times. I mean, it happened against Georgia. It's going to happen again. I think Ohio State's been humbled too. I mean, you
Mhm.
think about the Michigan loss,
Yeah.
right? They're also coming in after two dominant wins
Mhm.
versus Tennessee and undefeated Oregon. How could you not feel great if you're an Ohio State fan, especially blowing those teams out? I do think, Chris, and I'm gonna throw this out here. Do you think that there's some overreacting with some of the things that are going on? Is there overreacting to the result of Texas, Arizona State? Where are we reading too deep and saying, well, Texas is obviously just coming in here on a flat tire, and Ohio State's coming in here, higher than ever. They should beat the crap out of blah blah blah. Just the same way we looked at Texas should dominate Arizona State, and I think that's also maybe factored into the spread a little bit.
Mhm.
6.5 is a bit disrespectful playing on Texas soil as far as I'm concerned, if I'm Steve Sarkisian. What say you on that?
Man, personally, I think there's a lot of overreaction going on. And one thing with the overreaction I want to focus on is our offensive line. Uh, Trevor Gooseby is an amazing player. He's a redshirt freshman of Melissa, very athletic player. I know his dad, he listens to Fanatic. I love Trevor Gooseby. He stepped in on both sides, of the tackles, left and right this year when we needed him, and he stepped up. But one thing that, I noticed like on Unfiltered Longhorn Talk, a lot of guys were saying, man, Cam Williams gets so many penalties. He gets so many false starts. I wonder what it looks like with Trevor Gooseby and Kelvin Banks as our tackle. I'm not saying anybody was really they didn't want Cam to not play, but I saw a lot of fans and I've seen a lot of fans online just, they kind of, our fans, Texas fans get nitpicky at times and you can say that across the board at probably any fan base. If you look at any fan base that's left, you look at them online, they all probably do that.
All of
But
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I remember as a kid growing up watching the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s, Big Eric Williams was a stud, but he would get false starts. He would get penalties. He would get, hands in the face. It'd be 1st and 15 because of Big E. But when that guy wasn't playing, we couldn't run the ball. And I think a lot of that happened last week against Arizona State. A guy like Prince Dorba was able to, shoot in the gaps. The linebackers were able to shoot in the gaps. But we weren't able to run outside zone like we did. The week before, or a couple weeks before, against Clemson, we had 249 yards rushing on outside zone. We averaged 10.8 yards a carry. Against Arizona State, we got 15 yards rushing on outside zone. We averaged 1.7 yards a carry on that. All right. Uh, Cam Williams has a PFF grade of 84.5 against outside zone. He's like 14th in the nation of all the tackles running outside zone. Nothing against Trevor Gooseby. What he's given us has been great. It's been a small sample size, but he's 251st against outside zone, and he has a 52.1, rating against that. I mean, that's a big deficiency, and
Especially in the nuance of what you're asked to do of going out and blocking in space,
yep,
right? Which
yep,
is also to me, Chris, though, where we need our coaching staff to step up, right?
mhm,
Because I've also talked about this. Obviously, Goosby's very effective in his pass blocking, right? Which
mhm,
is
mhm,
probably the most critical thing of keeping the quarterback upright. But
right,
in terms of some of those run blocking elements, why not adjust the run scheme or the run game plan to the personnel that you do have in
with the
there, right?
strength, right,
And getting up and maybe going into pistol, having some of those more combination blocks, more duo, even with the run personnel, because I also look at the backs. I know that they have ball security. At this point, it is what it is. You
mhm,
can't hide it because all three of them have shown the propensity to fumble.
yep,
At some point, I'm gonna need my hammer. Where's Jared
yep,
Gibson?
yep,
Like, is the trust that bad to where we are just not gonna have this skill set in our room? Because that guy can do things that Jaden Blue and Trey Wisner can't do. The
right,
same way Cam Williams can do things that Gooseby can't. Like it's all like I want to use all of my pieces and I want my coaches to adjust to the personnel they have. You're valid with that point.
mhm.
But I'm also like, Sark, Flood,
Let's make adjustments.
make
Yeah,
adjustments.
yeah,
So now here's the thing. I do think that Arizona State, I'm not going to say they were running a gimmick. They played really hard. They played really well at the line of scrimmage. They were really small and really quick. Ohio State is more of what we've been used to seeing.
Mhm.
Okay. Where we're going to line up against more like minded athletes, mano a mano. There's going to be a lot more mano a mano football, if you
Yep.
will. I do feel as though people are underestimating Texas's ability to rise to the occasion physically against opponents like this. When we look back at the second Georgia game, and what Texas was able to do, not necessarily in the run game, but obviously protecting Quinn and being
Yeah.
very aggressive, attacking them down the field.
Yep.
Malachi Starks, KJ Bolden, Dan Jackson, great guys over there in that secondary. What we saw Texas line up and do last year going to Tuscaloosa
Yep.
against Nick Saban and that personnel with many of the same characters that are on this offensive line. I do think that they're going to be able to rise to the occasion better, but we got to provide why.
Yep.
Chris, we got to
Yep.
talk. Let's get into the why there, right? So,
Yeah.
you want to do Texas offense against Ohio State defense first? Where do you want
Sure.
to go?
I'm down. Wherever, however you call it, let's do
Yeah.
it.
So, there's been a lot of talk about Quinn going up against this Caleb Downs led Ohio State secondary, and some of the shifts that they've done with their safety play. Jim Knowles. Now, the last time Sark faced Jim Knowles has actually no, Sark didn't face. No, it was 2021. So
2020. No, 2022 was the last time. It was at 2022. It was the
he
game
was
at
already at Ohio State.
Oklahoma
Is what I'm
State.
saying.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
it
it was
would have been the
2021.
it would have been the first game with the Casey Thompson game where we
Yep.
lost in
We
Austin.
threw the pick six. Yep.
Yes, that game.
Yep.
That was a Jim Knowles defense.
Yep.
But my point is, with Jim Knowles, him coming from the Big 12, a lot of that three high safety look, some of the stuff they've talked about there, some of the stuff they've done, he has the ability to run a lot of that stuff against us.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh
There is
yeah.
a familiarity there. So,
Yep.
and I think the coaching matchups here are really, really key. So Sark versus Knowles, PK versus Chip Kelly.
Kelly. Yep.
Very
Yep.
cool matchups.
Yep.
One thing you talked about Quinn, and this is us just talking pregame, but I want to tee you up here. Your concern is Quinn in the RPO versus how they're now using Caleb Downs as this hybrid rover.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that's a very key to the game in terms of can Texas make money there potentially, or is this all advantage Ohio State?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. That's very key. So basically, what they've done is they took their slot corner, Jordan Hancock, and they've moved him to safety. And you've got Ransom, the other safety, and they're pretty much running cover two. They've taken Caleb Downs and they've moved him to a rover. So he's 10 to 12 yards off the line of scrimmage, but he's kind of still playing a middle linebacker, but he's not playing it where your normal middle linebackers play. He's playing 10 to 12 yards out. And so basically against the run, the guards can't get to him because he's a little further out.
At
He's
this
kind of
point,
yeah, he can read and react from where he is, but also he's kind of affecting the glance routes, the short passing game. And with us, you'll see a lot of RPO. You see a lot of Quinn come up to the line of scrimmage. One play will be called. Everybody else will be run blocking. He'll play fake it and throw it to a guy. You see that a lot.
we
And
opened the game with it.
yep,
Matthew Golden.
yep, yep. I mean, big time. And basically, against cover two, we struggled against cover two. We struggled big time. Whether it's Quinn making that throw, his arm strength, the way Sark calls a game with Quinn, we've struggled. Uh, Jordan Hancock, the last two games, has played 79 plays at safety. So basically, they're running that defense a lot. And I don't know, like the last time I saw Caleb Downs, last year was, he was trying to navigate in the deep safety room against Alabama. And anybody that's, friends with me on social media, there's that picture of Worthy running that post and John Taylor Cook running that crossing route. And
Right.
Downs having to pick from which one he has. And then you see John Tay pretty much once the ball's in the air, has his hands in the air, like, hey, we're going to score this. Watch this, because Downs picked the wrong guy. Well, basically, Caleb Downs is probably playing closer to the ball is probably what his strength is. And They've adjusted, and that's pretty much what they're doing, man. Gotcha.
So Caleb Downs to me has just been elite, taking away the stuff underneath. Some of the easy hitters that people have on second, third down just to kind of move the chains. He's
Mhm.
able to jump on top of that stuff, get pressure, pass breakups, tackling them short of the sticks, open field tackling. I mean, he's just been so good as that eraser underneath. Does that line up with what you've been seeing from him and some of that rover play that we've been talking about?
Those long developing plays we saw against Georgia, the screen plays, those developing plays. I
They're
don't know if I
not.
would do that. They're not. I don't know if
Yeah,
I would try that. You know,
yeah.
I
They're.
mean,
I mean, but that's why I'm saying about making the adjustments of
mhm,
being able to run the football both
mhm,
downhill and outside. I'm not saying get rid of wide zone, outside zone. That
right,
is too much of your offense and too much of your passing game is stapled to that part of the run game.
right,
But scenario wise, just having all of that available to me because I want them flowing a certain way. I want some of that traffic coming downhill
mhm,
so we can redirect. So
yep,
part of why we had such great early success against Michigan's defense early in the year, or when we did have success against Georgia's defense and the second game in the SEC championship game. So those elements have to be there. When I look at up front, how's Texas going to be able to establish that, right? Cam Williams, I think him being back, I agree with you. I think Texas is going to have to play 12 personnel. Juan Davis has to play in this game, and he's going to have to play a lot because there's a lot of unsung stuff that he does in the run game to help get stuff going. And I know it's not the sexiest thing where I don't have my slot guy on the field all the time,
mhm,
but we're going to have to be more deliberate, in my opinion, of establishing physicality. As good as Ohio State has been, there is that front runner element of them when people have been able to punch them in the mouth this year. That's
yep,
on film. They want to fake the funk about it or not, that's on film. Texas has to come out of this game saying we were the more physical team offensively. Period. They can't leave this game and we said, hey, like the Georgia games. Georgia, we were both tough, but Georgia was a little tougher than us. I that cannot be the case with Ohio State because their back end talent, especially what we're going to talk about with the Ohio State offense, is too much.
yep,
That's how you mitigate some of this because I do think that Texas is better built and has more experience, is more comfortable within their own skin
mhm,
when money's on the table, games get tight, and it's really when it's really there. Right now, I've seen Ohio State play great football when they are comfortable, when they
yep,
have a lead and everything's going well. But I've seen this team under Ryan Day unravel in key moments and do some of the most chaotic things when it's a tight ball game.
mhm,
And this has been a Ryan Day theme throughout the time. This is why he's not won a national championship, by the way.
right, right,
So you want to have some of those things to reinforce that psychologically as you are beating them physically.
mhm.
I think that is very very key. Talk about run game, but also what some of those things you're seeing, or if you agree disagree with what I'm saying.
With their run game. Uh
No,
I
our
mean,
run game, our run
our run
game.
game. Yeah, man. Running outside zone, especially coming up this week. I am like, there's two matchups that I'm really kind of, I got my eyes on. I'm going to be there in the stadium, like I said earlier. So it's going to be Cam Williams against Jack Sawyer. Sawyer's very good against outside zone, 7, 8 sacks. That guy's a monster. That guy's everything we're trying to get Colton Vostek to be, next year, once he gets his chance, and Ethan Burke. That guy's awesome. I think the other side, Kelvin Banks and JT Tua Maalo.
Tomorrow. Yep.
Yeah, that might be where our best chance is to have success on outside zone. The first time against Oregon, they ran on him real well. They ran on him real well with outside zone. This last game against Oregon, I mean, literally, Oregon ran the ball 20 times for 33 yards. So, I mean, it's a game within the game, man. It's going to be up front. I mean, and I'm not saying our guards aren't going to have a say so. Anybody knows like our guards is kind of where we struggle whenever we can't run the ball. At times when we're trying to run up the middle with inside zone and any kind of trap or anything like that. But man, honestly, we run inside zone, we run outside zone 34% of the time. We run a third. That's a third of our plays. We're running outside zone. So I mean, literally, we have to win those matchups on the outside. You basically got 2 first or second round picks going up against 2 first or second round picks. I mean, I like our
I
chances, but
do from him, but putting those guys in a bind, man, and you're going to have to protect Quinn because we don't have the benefit of say a Dylan Gabriel being able to move around and all those type of things. And one thing that was evident was a guy like Simon who's at the linebacker level who was just able to spy and do what he did. Ransom was coming down and making
right,
plays as well. So Quinn is going to have to be smart up here and pre-snap at the line of scrimmage, dissecting some of those packages that Ohio State can get creative with, especially when Ransom does come down. We know they've talked a lot about cover 2, but they will come down and be physical. Downs himself. So just diagnosing that and reading that. Attention to detail to me is the theme of the week.
Mhm.
Because I was missing last week against Arizona State. The effort was there.
Yeah.
I thought the physicality was there. The
Mhm.
attention to detail was not there.
Yeah.
When Texas is locked in and their attention to detail is where I know it has been, they can make people look bad and they can play with anybody, including Ohio State. I'm not afraid of Ohio State if Texas is locked in upstairs, and that includes Quinn Ewers and his ability to move in the pocket and execute the game plan. There's some stuff out there that Ohio State folks have put out there, and some of it is valid within the tape of getting Quinn off script, getting Quinn. He's more of a Shanahan type quarterback, and when you get
Yeah.
them out of their comfort zone, he can throw blind and things of that sort. Pre-snap is the only way out of this to me.
Yeah.
And staying on time with the script and having that run game behind you. Only Ohio State's goal is to force them into that because they know at that point they've taken away the run. That there's no more marriage with the play action. It's very much just straight drop back pass,
Mhm.
throw into our zones, right?
Yep.
That's not how we play football.
Mhm.
And that's not how we want to play football.
No.
So, protecting the ball, all those things are all of the narratives of what we talk about. But at the end of the day, Chris, he's going to have to win pre-snap. And Sark and them are
Mhm.
going to have to be on program with how they want to manipulate Caleb Downs because for every counter, there's reactions. So, example, you talk about Caleb Downs at the 10 to 12 yards. Well,
Mhm.
if you're banging outside zone, he's going to have to start swaying that way.
Yep.
Misdirection and counter off a boot is now wide open for me.
Mhm.
Period. You can't be
Correct.
in 2 places at once.
Yep.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
right?
If he can do that, he'll be the number 1 pick in this whenever he comes out.
Right. But
Yeah.
you have to dictate it.
Yep.
The thing is, Oregon racked up 500 yards on Ohio State's defense in
Yeah.
Eugene. They cut that number down to 275, but where
Mhm.
they really cut it down was Oregon's run game.
Yep.
Oregon was not able to run the football. And so when you go back and you look at the physicality, did Oregon look more physical? Hell no. They got beat up. Honestly, I thought Ohio State was a more physical team the first time.
Yep.
But if I look at the physicality that Michigan applied, and people are saying, well, Tennessee tried to mirror that. Tennessee doesn't have the personnel we have offensively. No
Mhm.
disrespect.
Mhm. Not at all.
And they don't have the quarterback with the seasoning that our guy does. Also playing in environment. Environment does matter. We're not
Yeah.
playing in in Columbus. We're going to be
Yeah.
playing in at&t
Yep.
in Bubba's backyard. They're
Yep.
going to have an ability to weather some of that and stay calm and I hope dictate what type of pace we play at. Moving over. So the other part of the coin is, oh, go
Before
ahead, Chris.
before before we get there, I do want to ask you a question.
Go
We
ahead.
run a lot outside. We run some outside zone out of the pistol. Anybody that know quite what the pistol is? That's when the running back's right behind Quinn. But also we run a lot outside zone when the running back's right next to Quinn. I saw numerous times against Arizona State where we complete a pass, and it'd be second down, or the next play we run outside zone, and it would get stuffed. I know Sark doesn't get into this, but he's kind of changed it a little bit. I know in 2023 we saw Quinn keep it a few times. He got, if you remember the Baylor game, he had that big long run when he kept it on outside zone, faked it and it was wide open. There was a couple times it was wide open against Arizona State. I think this is that game where, where you're a 6.5 point, 7 point underdog. They're very talented. If they're going to play you like that, man, if that's wide open, don't you think that we're going to see Quinn? Obviously, if you bring the Arch package in, they kind of know what to expect. Like the only thing different you can do out of that is probably throw out of that. But when you're running
Well,
your
this is the
basic
Quinn Ewers Bowl,
offense,
baby. Of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Wait,
He's got he's got to run. He's got to get he's got to get a couple first downs with his feet. With that, like I'm surely thinking, especially if you see the way Sark can have to call plays over the next couple of years with this next couple of quarterbacks that he's recruited. There's gonna be some quarterback run. Like I'm asking you, do you think we're gonna see Quinn get involved in
I
that?
think
Do you
that can
think
be
he'll
in
keep
play.
it?
I
Yeah.
think that can be in play, even from a standpoint of you look at the A&M game,
Mm-hmm.
right? When a certain part of the field is leveraged a certain way, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, you got to take those are 20 yards that you can get there with
Yeah.
your leg
Yep.
because they've bottlenecked everything over to the other side. I mean,
Right.
you have to consider those options and just being decisive. But
Mm-hmm.
the other thing, as you brought that up, I'm also thinking about just all that being a part of boot, right? Because that is a
Mm-hmm.
Shanahan staple
Yep.
of from outside zone is that boot action and rolling him out a little bit more, moving the pocket. I do think Texas moves the pocket in this game. One thing we did against Michigan, remember we played Michigan when they had all Rayshon
Everybody
Benny and
was
all Mason
healthy.
Graham, all this
Yeah.
stuff. We
Yeah.
were moving the pocket, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not just you know throw everything out there at this point. What
Mm-hmm.
what 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 do you have to? It's the
What do you have to
college football
lose?
semifinal.
Yeah, you lose your home.
So that's why I brought up the point about Jared Gibson
Yeah.
and not using at some point. I also think that another talking about misdirection and eyes and keys, paying
Mm-hmm.
attention to where Ransom and them line up. Okay, they want to get exotic on some, hit them with an end around to Wingo.
Yeah.
Where's that? Where are those elements? Right, those are things that can also help you in your run game. Stuff with Silas Bolden,
Silas Bolden.
right?
I've been preaching
Silas
that.
Bolden is a guy that I think Ohio State's going to have a tough time dealing with if he gets opportunities on the field.
Yep.
Okay. We obviously need to try to work back in Isaiah Bond, right? Matthew Golden is going to be, I guarantee you, he's going to be front. Him and Gunnar Helm are going to be the first two names they write down of people they want to try to take away in the pass game. Caleb Downs probably going to spend a lot of time with Gunnar Helm. So, looking at all these factors, you have options. I don't want to leave
Mm-hmm.
this game and saying, "Man, I wish we would have got to see what Silas could have done out the slot."
Right. Right.
Or why didn't we use so and so? Or why didn't we have that? Where's the end around Wingo?
Mm-hmm.
Like everything should be available to you in live, because again, we have seen when Ohio State takes that competitive punch in the mouth, they move different.
Mm-hmm.
They move different. So but you have to force them into that. That's
Yep.
why they're so good because they come in there and immediately play their game, their pace, their tempo, and then they let their offense do their thing. You got to
Yep.
throw them off. You got to throw them off. For the sake of time, I do want to move over to Ohio State offensively.
Okay.
Very familiar with Will Howard. It's the fourth time he's going to start against us in the last 5 years. I put the tweet out there just saying that, and Ohio State fans, because they're sensitive and have low level reading comprehension, they
Wow.
made it something way more than it needed to be. But it was just recognizing, hey, we've played the guy a lot in the last 5 years. That was my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
familiarity goes both ways. We are familiar with him as he is familiar with us. Okay, it goes
Yeah.
both ways, Ohio State fans. So relax. However, yes, he does have a posse with him, led by Jeremiah Smith, 90 PFF grade, one of the most explosive players in the nation. Where do you be? I'm starting with him, even over these backs, even over the $1 million backfield of Travion Henderson and Quinshawn Judkins. That's how good Jeremiah Smith has been to me, Chris.
Mhm. Big time, man. Personally, what I think we should do is that in a situation like this, you don't change. You know,
I like it.
our secondary is the best secondary in the country. All right. Something's got to give. You don't change. We're very
Challenge
good against,
accepted.
yeah, we are very good against the zone. You know, if you look at us in 2021 and 2022, we struggled in cover four. We struggled in guys, you know, you know, continuing like guys like picking up the right guys in the zone, you know. Heck, we even saw that in 2023 in Texas OU in that last game or in that last play with was that David Benda. You know, we struggled against that. This year we do not have a problem with that at all. We play more zone than anybody. Now I'll say this: Jeremiah Smith is second in NCAA against the zone in receiving yards to Travis Hunter. He's got 763 yards against the zone. Something's got to give. But I mean, just because of that, like you don't just change up. I mean, you might mix it up a little bit, but I mean, you don't change who you are, man. You know, and I think we're a lot better in our secondary this year than we were last year. You know, I don't think this will be a situation where it's like Michael Penix throwing with all this time, dropping back with all this time to throw, you know, and just killing us. You know, I mean, we got to pressure Will Howard. We have to pressure Will Howard. But I mean, like I said, I'm not going to all of a sudden just start playing man, you know, just because of, you know, I mean, dude, we're very good against the zone. Like we play
I
good
think
team ball.
I think for a big part of us, you do want to change the picture on him, though.
Yeah.
We can
Oh,
be
yeah.
us, but let's make stuff dicey pre-snap, right?
Yeah.
Same way I talked about with Quinn. Will Howard is really good when things are neat and clean, and that's one of the reasons why he's a good fit, especially for Chip Kelly's scheme, because Chip already does a lot of the window dressing his own self.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he's dressing up inside zone, he'll make it look like it's something completely different, and they're just running inside zone.
Right.
And that's why, when I look at Ohio State versus Penn State, Ohio State won that game with scheme. Time and time again, third and whatever, he's able to get the ball out into the flat to Travion Henderson
Mm-hmm.
or get Emeka Kuba isolated within and able to sit down and just move the chains easy to find reads. Now, Will Howard's made some plays. He's grown up as a quarterback. I'm seeing him make more nuanced throws and whatnot, but the things that have challenged him in the past that I have seen on tape, even at Ohio State, because like you said, you are who you are,
Mm-hmm.
is when things get a little hazy with the pitcher, and that's for most young quarterbacks.
Right.
That is not exclusive to him.
Yeah.
So with Texas's communication abilities, I do think that they're going to have to cause some sort of hesitation in changing the pitcher, especially with the way that they communicate, because I am worried about Manny's confidence if he's just getting targeted again, like the
Right.
Clemson game. That
Yeah.
that concerns me.
Yeah.
Or we switch him out, we go to Gavin Holmes, and now they're working other ways, or we start overcompensating. I've seen some people say, "Hey, Jahdae Barron should travel with Jeremiah Smith. Just don't let And it makes sense. He's a Thorpe Award winner, but is that the type of corner that Jahdae Barron is? Or has he been more of a true defensive back,
Right.
right? Where he's good at what he does within his space. I mean, we kind of hit the switch up button even in the Clemson game, moving him back into the nickel.
Yeah.
So you got to roll with whatever the situation presents come Friday night. I get it, but I'm with you, dude. Be who you are
Yeah.
and do it with confidence and play it and understanding that, hey, we might give up a big play here and there. We might
Mm-hmm.
he's that good.
Yeah. It's gonna
However,
happen.
I can't have the two backs going crazy.
Right.
If the two backs are going crazy, we're going to lose this football game.
Yeah. We have to stop the run without the safeties. I mean, if we're having to bring up Makuba a lot, like, that just makes it more or less back there to help out. I mean, I think that's really key. I'm not really worried about Taft. Taft has struggled last couple of weeks a little bit, but this is a new game. This what Ohio State's doing is more of what we're used to seeing. This isn't a Big 12 team. I know we're the last SEC team left, and everyone still sees Texas. They identify us as a Big 12 team. I think Friday you're going to see different. We're an SEC team. We're a hard hitting team. Hard hitting the secondary, hard hitting the linebackers. I think Anthony Hill needs to stay focused. Don't try to do too much. Play within your game. Be you. I'll tell you the matchup I'm really intrigued, and I think where we have a big advantage is at the tackles. I want to see where Colin Simmons. I want to see if we can move him around a little bit. I want to see that Colin Simmons, Donovan Jackson matchup. I mean, that dude's good. He's a guard, but he's moved to tackle, because of injuries. He's done a great job, but Colin Simmons is him, you know. I don't know. They're running a lot of counter, like we said earlier on. They were, I mean, I wouldn't say they got rid of inside zone, but they're running more counter than anything. That being said, I want to see Barron Sorrell step up. There's with counter, they're going to bring two linemen his way. I want to see him step up big and get the run, set the edge, and we got to stuff it up,
And that's something they did, kind of getting back to our roots. Him and Ethan Burke
Yeah.
have been those guys that really do that. But to your point on designated third downs, Colin Simmons is going to be huge for us. He's our best natural pass rusher. He's the best person that gets heat without us blitzing. We have struggled a little bit blitzing, in my opinion, recently. I do think, though, Will Howard can run. He's hit some 70-yarders on us. He has not run very much this year. We will see, depending, to me, one of the barometers on how nervous Ohio State is how much they actually run him.
Right.
But he's not going to move around behind the line of scrimmage the way Sam Levitt did. Sam Levitt was like a jitterbug. He didn't even know where he was going half the day.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I do think we will be able to corral and have better contain over when Will Howard is looking to extend a play. It's something that I thought Penn State actually did a pretty good job of in their matchup. Game Ohio State won 20-13. They have Abdul Carter. He had some success in that game against Donovan Jackson in those tackles.
Yeah.
Colin Simmons is, and look, for those of you Ohio State fans who wanted to throw shade, again, low-level folks that want to only focus on the box score and not on the tape, I don't throw shade at Jeremiah Smith. I know he's him. I don't need a box score to tell me how good he is.
Exactly.
But you're not watching the game. First of all, comparing the stats of a receiver to the stats of an edge rusher is stupid in itself, okay? The value stat-wise is not going to look the same to the naked eye. It's about the impact on the field. The impact on the field, there's no stat for when a team is redirecting their whole play call to go the other way to avoid number 11. And they throw the ball out of bounds and have to punt. There's no stat for that, okay? So the value that he's providing, there's a reason why I talked about Jeremiah Smith's Pro Football Focus grade being 90. Colin Simmons is right there. So for the people that are pissed off that he won the Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year award, go screw. Okay, because Colin Simmons is really, really right there. No, I'm saying it because Ohio State fans like to act like they're the only team that has good football players.
Right.
These folks believe that we don't belong on the field with them. They really think that their roster is exponentially better than Texas's roster. And I could say, hey, Ohio State might have a slightly better roster or might have a couple more talented guys than we do. But to sit up here and act as though
it's not that different. Yeah, no, it's not that different at all, man.
No.
Not at all.
If that's the case, if you really on that type of business, you'd be 14-0 right now. And you're not.
Okay? Exactly.
So this narrative of Colin Simmons doesn't belong in the conversation with Jeremiah Smith. This person doesn't belong in the conversation with this person. Let's actually look at the film. Okay.
Right.
Because I think some of them, a lot of these fans, they're a fan base of extremists. They ride in a bubble and they're extremists. One day it's fire Ryan Day, and the next moment it's we have the best roster ever and nobody else can compete with us.
Exactly.
And they will shift at a moment's notice. Parting thoughts here for this conversation, because I want to wrap up, but we will continue to have content throughout the week leading into the matchup. Any other things you wanted to touch on in terms of The offense, the Ohio State offense versus Texas defense, or anything else you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, there's a couple things I want to talk about, and I'll be quick with it. But first off, man, just being a Longhorn fan, it's the weirdest thing. It's the most polarizing thing at times. Just when people find out, who you are, or just talking to your other fans. We've talked about this subject, what I'm about to bring up now, in the past, and we're going to talk about it now, man. I've been hearing a lot of anti-Quinn talk, even after that last game. I've been hearing just like, you know, just fans, so just the way he throws, he didn't put anything on the ball, or he's not consistent. Every time I heard someone being critical of Quinn, this past week after this last game, I mean, it wasn't like, hey, look what he did on 4th and 13. It was 4th and our season was over. And the guy, he changed the protection. He changed the play. What Sark did 2 years ago, that wasn't happening. Okay. I'm an Arch Manning fan as much as anybody else is. I love Arch. I think next year is going to be so fun running RPO, having a quarterback that can run, having, a more athletic Andrew Luck. I cannot wait for that. But for right now, guys, we're 2 games away from a national championship. All right. Okay. I mean, Quinn is our guy, man. You win, you dance with who brought you here. Like me and Vashana said in the past, once year 3 comes in Sark's offense, that's when a quarterback gets more comfortable. We're at year 3 for him in Sark's offense. That's why 4th and 13 happened. All right. We're going to be fine. Hey guys, next year, Arch is going to be in year 3 in this offense. That's why we didn't see him. That's why we didn't see him against Arizona State. He's going to be in year 3. He's going to have that confidence where he's going to be able to change plays and do whatever, man. I know it's not aesthetically pleasing. We basically come off of 12 straight years of 4 more lost seasons. We couldn't find a quarterback to save our lives. And we got half y'all online, having Longhorn in the back, of your emoji of your Facebook account or whatever, Instagram, but you're just talking down our quarterback like it's nothing. I mean, miss me with
Back-to-back
that.
years at this point. Final Four.
Yeah. Back-to-back years, Final Four. Back-to-back years. I mean, right now, he's the 3rd best quarterback in Texas history of our generation, of the modern generation. He's behind Vince. He's behind Cole. If he wins Friday, and then Lord knows what happens, we're able to win a national championship, let's reevaluate it then. But you know what, guys? Instead of you guys sitting back and taking sides on which quarterback years, guys, just enjoy the ride, man. Just enjoy the ride. You never know when this is going to come again. After 2009, you probably thought we're going to be there so many more times. No, we weren't, man. We weren't at all. Enjoy the ride, man. Be appreciative. Sometimes, and over the last couple of weeks, I've been overprotective of Quinn, to help his algorithm. And just for all the other fans, other people coming up, all the people that have 12-year-old sons that are young quarterbacks, when it's their time for their kid to, decide where they're going to go to Texas, not all of us are, lunatics, who just blame a 21-year-old kid for everything, man. Enjoy the ride, guys. Enjoy the ride. And I want to say one last thing in closing. Friday, if you go into the game, if you're going to Jerry World, I've heard horror stories of people going to the game, getting there, paying all the money for the tickets, family of 4, and all of a sudden you got to pay $200 for parking. I'm going to give you a little insight on what I'm going to do for parking. I don't live in Arlington anymore, but Boomer Jackson, North Arlington, and Lincoln Square, it's about a mile or less, north of at&t. If you go in there, if you spend $40, they have great food. They've got great drink specials. If you don't drink, the food's amazing. If you spend $40, they're basically going to tell you where to park your car in their parking spot. They're going to give you a parking pass to put in your car so you won't get towed. And don't think, guys, you're going to be able to park in the subway or park into the movie house and then take off and go to the game. Your car will be towed. Basically, if you spend $40 at Boomer Jacks, they're going to, tell you where to park your car. And then they're going to have shuttles coming every 10 to 15 minutes to take fans to the game, take you there and back. I mean, that's where I'm going to be. I'd love to see some of you guys out there. We can talk ball. We can chop it up. I haven't had a beer since November of last year. It was a personal just goal I wanted to do to see what I could do and see where I could make my life. That day, man, I'll probably have a couple of dope beverages. I would love to see. I would love to talk ball, man. But if you can, if you want, go to Boomer Jack, spend $40. Do what they say. Park wherever they tell you to park. Take the shuttle. But I'll be there, man. I'll see you guys.
I appreciate you saying that, man, and
Yeah,
congratulations on the journey, by the way.
I appreciate it.
But yeah, shuttle services are anytime you go on AT&T.
Yeah,
That's I live locally, so if my wife doesn't drop me off, I use shuttle services as well. Um, Makes it way easier than dealing with the headache of and money from the pockets of parking. But hey, big game Friday, Chris. Folks on Unfiltered, y'all know where to find Chris. I'll have the link below to their Facebook group. They keep it live 24/7. Longhorns in there, real chat with real fans. This is, hey, all week, I'm in study mode. I'm in diagnose mode. Come holler at me. Anybody that's a rational Ohio State fan that wants to talk ball objectively. I know there are some of you out there. I don't know many, but there are some of you out there. Hit me in the comments. Come our way. I appreciate it. Hey, subscribe. The whole bit is free to show love. Hit that like button. We working hard for y'all, but this is what we love to do. So I appreciate it. Remember, horns always up. Hook 'em.
We'll go.